Forest ranger for a large amount of dense wooded forest just north of the US border. 1200. Just signed on to shift. Get a call on the radio for 1049. Missing person in my area. Last seen wearing a sweatshirt, hiking shorts, and a red backpack. Missing for 2 days now and just reported. Mount up, fuel up, then head out into the area it was last known to be in. Cruising for about an hour and a half. Decided it would be a good idea to start out on foot, as he won't be on any service roads. Notify dispatch to send an additional unit. Wait for half an hour until backup arrives. He's a good guy I enjoy working with. We head up onto the trail that's known for getting people lost. As halfway up it splits and goes further into the woods instead of curving around and heading back out towards the service area. Hiking for an hour. Calling out the person's name, keeping an eye out for clues, etc. I wind around the bend to find small remnants of a campsite. Shout out for my partner and the missing gentleman. Partner doesn't come around the corner. Go back around the corner. Partner isn't there. Come up on the radio. Anon? Anon? Come in. Officer Anon, are you code 4? Nothing. Well, fuck. Inspect the campsite. It's fairly recent. About a week. But no new footprints or indents in the mud surrounding the fire pit, except animals. Decide to wait for partner. He may have gotten lost. Try the radio again. Officer Anon? This is Anon. Come in. Are you code 4? Looking around in the trees, listening for any sounds out of the ordinary. Wait for 45 minutes for partner, while walking in little circles around the campsite. Partner doesn't show up. Now I'm a little worried. Go back around the bend in the trail, past a little rock outcropping, head back the way we came and looking for any sign of him. As I come up onto a hill, I hear footsteps up ahead of me. Boots on the rocky path. Come up on the radio again. Officer Anon, are you code 4? Still nothing on the radio. Dart up ahead to get a good look at whoever's on the trail. Spot a red backpack on the guy. He seems to be walking a little funny. No swings to his arms, walking almost like a robot. Excuse me, sir. What's your name? And 20 feet behind him by this point. Sir? He's still walking like a robot. Hey! He stops. Turns around lightning fast. Are you Herbson McDerpson? He just stares at me. Are you Herbson McDerp, sir? He still doesn't speak, but nods his head. We've been looking for you. Let's head back to the trailhead. After about 40 minutes, we reach the trailhead, and my partner's vehicles is still there. Now I'm going to put you in the back of my truck. You're not under arrest, just so you can relax and catch your breath. Try the radio again. Anon, are you out there? Anon! The radio crackles alive. This is Officer Anon. Yeah, I'm okay. Found the missing person. He's got a broken leg after falling off a small cliff. I've patched him up, and we're on our way back to the trailhead. Sorry for not responding. I was out of range. Got separated at one of the trail forks. What? Anon, I've got the missing hiker. He's in the back of my truck right now. Silence for 2 minutes. Anon, lock your truck and grab the 12 gauge from my Jeep. Why? Just do it and don't let it out of your sight. Okay. Unlock his Jeep, grab the 12 gauge and inspect it to see if there's a round in the chamber. Calmly walk over to the truck and peek into the window. Nobody's in the truck, and the cage was bent to a severe angle, with my driver's side door open. Oh shit. Swing around the other side of my truck and peer into the cab. Nothing. Close the door and climb into the bed. Sitting on the roof for an hour and half shitting my pants in terror until my partner got back with the injured hiker. He looks at me. You let it get away? What do you mean by it, Anon? I'll tell you later. Never did tell me when we got back to the station. Don't know if it was a skinwalker, changeling, or what. But it was definitely noteworthy. I'm back. Talked to my partner today as we're both on the same service road and assigned to the same area. Asked him about the odd incident a month ago. Pulled up next to his Jeep. He was filling out paperwork. "Hey, Anon, how's the shift so far?" "Yeah, a couple of idiot kids decided to drink out here. Some people having sex. Nothing too serious." "So, about that incident a couple months ago, I've been trying to figure it out, and it just keeps confusing me. You never exactly told me what it was, or why you had me lock my truck and get a shotgun." He clicks his pen and puts it in his back pocket, closing the citation. "Well, it's not something you need to know about. It would be in your best interest to keep your nose clean of it from now on." "Come on, don't scare me with that G-Man secret agent bullshit. Just explain what you thought it was." He looks at me from just below the ball cap. "It's something that's lived here long before I ever took this job. I used to live in this area, and at night, would always hear my neighbors' voices calling my name, or my family dog barking when the dog was on my bed." Now I'm interested. Dispatch interrupts us with a call about kids shooting animals. Then another call about someone breaking their leg, then patrolling campgrounds and hiking trails. So that's all I got from him today, as we weren't near each other for much of the day. But I'll keep pestering him, X. I've never told this story to anyone, and I don't really intend to tell it again. I have a pounding migraine today, and this thread has kept me good company as I've drifted in and out. I don't really like talking about this time in my life, but I want to contribute. When I was 10 or 12, I lived with my mother. We were below poverty level poor. We lived up in the mountains around Santa Cruz, California. My mother had a friend that owned a large bit of property up there, and he let us stay up there. Our trailer was very small, and right beside a garden. A chain-link fence ran around the garden to keep the dog the owner had out, along with the other animals, deer and things very common in the area. Also inside the fenced area was a single room. It was built like a tiny house, but it was only a single room on the inside. This room had electricity, and since our actual trailer didn't, I spent a lot of my time in there. I was super into video games. I'm going to take on a random name so I can be easily identified in this thread. There's one thing you should know right now. This small fenced area was only a small part of the property, but most of it was heavily forested. Also, I refused to leave the fenced area, because the owner's dog had been mistreated by children in the past and was very sketchy towards me all the time. If I was alone, it would bite at me, even through the fence. The fence was tall, at least 7 feet high, and wasn't movable though. So as long as the gate was closed, I was safe. That said, a tiny bit of the property, there was no one else around for miles and miles. Now, I tell you all this because I think it is important you understand what kind of scene this was before I really get into the story. We have a fenced-in location that seems fairly safe. It contains a trailer in a single room with power that is not connected to the trailer. Nothing else around for miles. My mum's van is parked out in front of the gate to the fenced area, and a single unpaved road runs from the garden for about a mile until the main road. Now then, I brought friends up here to sleep over here and there. We all thought it was pretty cool, you know? Like camping out, sort of. Besides, we would get our own room to stay in, to play video games in all night long. It was like a dream come true. The downside was simple. When it got dark out, it got really dark out. No city around, and the trailer would not be lit up. There was no bathroom to use in the room, and you would have to walk through the dark garden in order to get to the trailer to use it. Odd things happened out there from time to time. It was always something that could be somewhat easily explained away, though. Noises like people working at night sometimes, or once me and my friend were sitting out in the garden and we saw a shadow as big as a small bear round up a tree. But the tree didn't shake like there was a weight on it. The dog also creeped me out, but you know, angry dog. I was a kid. It happens. Now, I am a scaredy cat. I always have been. To be honest, I don't know why I even come to Axe. I have trouble walking through a lit house if I'm all alone. My friends, however, tend to be more outgoing. Just the kinds of people I get along with. This time I had a friend over. His name was Jacob. We were staying up all night and playing Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles on my Sega Genesis on a ratty old television. We started playing as the sun went down, and by the time we were finishing the game, it was about 2 a.m. That's when we heard it. We turned off the game, getting ready to find something else to play. There was a rumbling in the woods behind the room we were in, like somebody was rolling something heavy around. We hadn't heard it before because the noise from what we were playing was loud. Immediately, I had goosebumps. Jacob was not really worried about it, but it's not like there was someone else's house or yard right over there. It was forest for miles, and it sounded like someone was constructing something or some shit, dragging or rolling something really big. Eventually, Jacob convinced me to just play some more games. I agreed on the condition that we turn the volume down so we can hear if something happened. We started playing, and I didn't even notice the noise stop because I was getting engrossed. A couple of hours later, Jacob said he would use the bathroom. I was feeling fine by then, so I felt fine when he left to use the trailer to relieve himself. He was taking a while, so eventually I decided I was going to check up on him. Besides, I could use the bathroom and grab a snack whilst I was at it. I opened the door to leave, and he was just standing right in the doorway. Right outside the door, facing it. Scared the shit out of me. I asked him what he was doing, and he just stood there, blocking the exit. I realized he must have sneaked up to the door because I could hear him walk away from the room, but I hadn't heard him walk back up to it. It was super quiet out there, without the noises of the city. I should have been able to hear him. He refused to say anything or respond. He just stood there. I told him he was really creeping me out, but it was not unlike him to try and scare me like this. Finally, I decided to just go to the trailer and use the bathroom myself, partially because I knew my mother was asleep in there. I told him what I was doing, then moved past him. When I pushed him out of the way a little, his skin felt freezing to the touch. I jumped a little, but it was a cold night and he'd been standing out there for like 30 minutes, so I figured that was to be expected. I walked as quickly as I could over to the trailer. He followed me, like right on my tail. It was unnerving. I joked a little, saying that he already surprised me by scaring me at the door. The joke's already over. Finally, I got to the trailer and walked in. He didn't follow, just stayed at the doorway. I checked on my mom. He was fast asleep, then turned to go to the bathroom. Now, it being a porta potty, we just kept the bathroom door shut because, well, it smells bad. When I reached for the door and tried to open it, it's locked. A nervous voice came behind the door. I'm in here." I quickly turned to look at Jacob, but the door was still open and there was nothing there but a pitch-black night. I freeze in terror. I would have heard the bathroom door open if he had come behind me and gone that way. There was no way to do it quietly. It creaks like a motherfucker. I yelped so loud that my mom woke up startled. I stared at the doorway, unable to bring myself to move a muscle. She got up, walked over to there, and looked down. Not seeing anything, she closes the door and asked me what was wrong. By now, Jacob was coming out of the bathroom and acting perfectly normal, but a bit confused. I explained what had happened. Jacob said he was just taking long in the bathroom, basically. Neither of them believed me at all, no matter how much I insist. My mum's sure I just got sleepy and imagined it. Jacob thought I was trying to prank him. So my mom gets out a big flashlight and walks us back to the room, tells us to go to sleep, then leaves us to go back to bed herself. Now this room doesn't have any windows or anything, so after a while I calm back down a little. I tell myself that my mom was right. I must have had like a walking dream or something. Jacob insists he was in the bathroom the whole time, and I'm inclined to believe him because there was no way to really get around without being heard. So I settled down. I'm a little rattled, but I'm thinking I can just sleep it off through the night. Suddenly, the dog starts going nuts, right behind us. The room is up against the fence, so the dog must have been like right behind the room on the other side. I felt like I jumped so high I was surprised I didn't hit the roof. Jacob's laughing at me like, "Ha, Dog barking at a squirrel or some shit and you're shitting yourself. It keeps going like that for a long time though. Suddenly the barking stops and gets replaced by whimpering. We hear the dog run away. There's about 45 seconds of silence before we hear something new. A small scratching sound on the back wall of the room. We both try to be as silent as we can. Eventually it stops. After 5 or so minutes of silence, Jacob decides to be brave. He insists he's going to get my mother up, tell her something crazy is going on, and we're going to go from there. With some kind of divine adult protection, no doubt. I wish he wouldn't leave me alone, but there is no way I'm going out there. Never ever. He arms himself as best he can, with the tennis racket we had in the room with us. Then he takes a couple of deep breaths and opens the door and dashes out. I close it as quick as I can behind him. In less than 30 seconds later, I hear a scream. Not long after, the door flies open and he comes back in looking as pale as a ghost. He keeps breathing like he'd just run a marathon. His eyes look as big as dinner plates. I ask him what's going on like 4 times before he starts getting his words out. He tells me he walked out there, and as he was walking through the garden as quick as he could, he saw my mum, just standing there. He tried to talk to her, but she stared down at him with a blank expression. Getting super creeped out because of what had happened earlier, he took a couple more steps towards her, telling her that he thought something was in the woods. Suddenly, her face turned into an awkward smile. Then he realized something terrible. He hadn't noticed it sooner because of the darkness and how much of a hurry he was in. She was on the other side of the fence. Now, the door to this room does not lock, and as I explained earlier, this room had no windows. He had been trying to move stuff in front of the door as he told the story, and by the end of it, I was helping him. In retrospect, whatever was harassing us seemed to be adverse to actually entering the room or the trailer, because the Jacob one couldn't come in either time it could have. And this room was not sturdy. Either way, we stacked everything we could against the door, thinking somehow that, like cartoons, this would definitely keep the creature out. For the rest of the night, we heard scratches coming from all around the room. I cried. Jacob looked like his mind had left his body with fear. At one time, I thought I heard it speak, too. I heard it from right next to where I was resting my head against the wall. In my mother's voice, quietly, the same exact phrasing and intonation she had used earlier in the night. "What's wrong?" Followed immediately by, "Go to sleep." The sun must have come up eventually. The scratching eventually stopped. We heard my mum come to get us, this time actually hearing footsteps. We absolutely refused to leave the room. My mom had to go get the property owner and have him take the door off. When we saw that it was actually her, I burst into tears again. We never had any experiences like these again, and eventually moved away. But that night still haunts me. I still refuse to go out at night, unless I'm with a bunch of people, and will never ever live in the woods again. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed hearing about this. If you want to make an image and repost it, feel free. I probably won't tell this again though. Thanks for listening.